backs. Hey, they're finally getting drafted. We got Jonathon Brooks going to the Panthers and Trey Benson going to the Cardinals. Probably not the best destinations that we were hoping for these two particular players, but now they have their NFL homes. I'm Jamie Eisberg. That's Dave Richard. That's Heath Cummings. So, gentlemen, of these two rookie running backs, Brooks to the Panthers in the second round, Benson to the Cardinals in the third round. Which one do you like better? Dave, I'll start with you.
I like Brooks better. I actually think that this is a good landing spot for him. He's not going to be rushed in his recovery from the ACL, although there is a report that he'll be good to go for training camp. But it's the right style of offense for his game, and it's the right play caller. Remember, Dave Canales was the guy behind Rachaad White's breakout in Tampa last year. He just put all the work on Rachaad White's plate. And White had a ton of targets. We know that Brooks is a good pass catcher out of the backfield. He's a better athlete. He's a better running back than Rachaad White. Brooks is. And so once he's up to speed and he earns the trust of the coaching staff, and I don't know how long that'll take because of the knee, yeah, he could end up being that lead guy for Carolina. I'll like him better next year than this year. But for this year, I'm not going to be afraid to take him if he falls to the right spot. I'm thinking late round 6. That might be a little too soon, but that's the range where I'm thinking right now on Brooks.
All right, Heath, same question, and, take it however way you want. But which of the two rookies do you prefer now? The most likely number 2 guy in Arizona, or what could even be the number 3 guy in Carolina, depending on when Brooks is ready to go?
Yeah, I think the answer is probably the same as Dave's. The one thing that could change that is if the plan is that James Conner is not going to be on the Arizona Cardinals week 1. If he's a cap casualty and Trey Benson's starting, then it'll be a situation where Trey Benson will be the better option in year 1 and then redraft. And I still might like Brooks better in Dynasty because I agree with Dave. I think Brooks is the better running back prospect. But these were the guys that we thought as a community were the top 2 guys, I think, consensus-wise, and the NFL did as well.
Jamie, I just checked the cap number for Connor. The Cardinals will save $4 million if they cut Connor, but he's also going to give them dead money of $4 million. I would keep him if I were them. I know that he might be in his last year in Arizona, but I don't know if there's a reason to let him go. I don't think the salary is big enough.
I think the only way I could see Connor being moved is if, let's say, Dallas were to say offer a trade. A team like that. Somebody looking to acquire him, as opposed to them moving on from him. Because, look, the Cardinals want to put as many playmakers around Kyler Murray as they possibly can. We know Connor's a fantastic pass catcher and has been a very solid running back for them for the last 2 years. So it'd be a little surprising. Now, in Carolina, we can get a move because of Miles Sanders. I don't know what the dead cap money is there, Dave, if you want to take a look at that. But that would make things a little bit more interesting for Brooks if the Panthers were able to get out of the 3-year deal that Sanders signed last year. But obviously, it's going to come down to his health. So I agree with what you said, both of you, that Brooks should be drafted ahead of Benson because there's a clearer path to being the starter for him. However, I think what we're looking at here is how healthy is he going to be? And the draft capital, you said, Dave, that's too high for me. I'm not going round 6 on Jonathon Brooks because I just don't know when he'll be up to speed. So if it's a round 6 pick, then I'm out. Benson, I think, is going to probably go. Well, I guess let's go backfield by backfield here. So Brooks, we're all in agreement. He's the first Panthers running back coming off the board, assuming he's not on the PUP list.
Correct.
I think even if he is on the PUP list, he will be the first Panthers running back off the board.
Yeah, but if he's on the PUP list, definitely not round 6.
Okay, but first Panthers running back off the board. We're all in agreement there. Hubbard 2, Sanders 2, assuming they're all there.
Chuba.
Probably Chuba, yeah.
Okay.
The cap savings that the Panthers would get by cutting Miles Sanders is $200,000. Okay. Almost $7.5 million of dead money if they let Sanders go. If they cut Miles Sanders, it's just a big old message to him on the Goodyear blimp saying Ice Cube's a pimp and Miles Sanders, you're just not good anymore.
Okay, so most likely all 3 guys are there. So Heath, when are you taking Jonathon Brooks? Dave says round 6, assuming he's not on the PUP list.
Yeah, I'll lean maybe a round later, round 7. I think we probably see a mess the first month of the season, but when Jonathon Brooks is right, and there's no reason to think it's going to take him 3 months into the season to get right. When Jonathon Brooks is right, I don't think the Miles Sanders we saw last year or Chuba Hubbard is going to stand in his way.
That I agree with. It's just a matter of when is he up to speed. So
right. We
Maybe
saw
round
what we
7
saw.
I can buy into, but
I think we'll use them for reference a lot probably. But we saw Brees Hall. It took about 4 weeks, and then he was just getting all of the touches that he did before. And Javonte Williams never really did last year, so we may not know.
Devontae Williams is the cautionary tale because that's typically
Right.
what we see from that position. So take that for what it's worth. In the Cardinals backfield, so James Conner is still going to be the first one drafted. He was basically going as early as round 4 in the drafts that we were doing. Now, when are we taking James Conner and when are we taking Trey Benson? Heath, I'll start with you.
I will say that we're going to take James Conner in round 6, and I'm going to guess that there's going to be a pretty big push to try to get Trey Benson closer to James Conner. Like, we love the young guys in the fantasy football community. So I wouldn't be surprised if Trey Benson's like a round or 2 after James Conner. And some people are arguing that you should take Trey Benson over James Conner because Benson's eventually going to take the job, or Conner always gets hurt or something. So maybe 2 rounds difference, round 6 and round 8.
This is going to be a backfield combo that fantasy managers might be able to get in late round 6 and early round 7. And I know you think about the Cardinals and why do I want a piece of that backfield? Well, Connor was actually really good when he was healthy last year. And Benson is a really good prospect. He was my favorite running back in the draft class. We know that he's got speed. We know that he can be powerful. We've seen it from him before. There are other elements of his game that aren't quite as great, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield. I like Benson. I think that he could end up being the best back in Arizona. So could I target him ahead of Connor? For now, I'm going to say no, but I don't think it's going to take much for me to flip that and say that Benson, like Brooks, is a late round 6 pick, and then Connor in round 7. And so the Arizona combo platter, like if you're looking for an RB2, you could take them in back-to-back rounds if you wanted to, especially if you took wide receivers early on. Or you can go with Carolina's combo. Maybe you'll get Brooks in round 7. You can probably get Chuba Hubbard in round 8, maybe round 9 after that.
Oh, I would think he goes much later if Brooks is healthy. If Brooks is not healthy, then different story. But if Brooks is good to go week 1, I think Chuba Hubbard's your last pick. Like, I don't think anybody's going to reach for him that soon. Heath, give me the dynasty take on these two guys. When are we drafting them in a 1 quarterback league? Are they both first round picks? Are they second round picks? Where do they fall in?
In a 1 quarterback league, I think they will both be first round picks. I would view Jonathon Brooks, and like a point of distinction that should be made. He's 20 years old and isn't turning 21 anytime soon. Exceptionally young running back prospect, and that does matter at this position. So Brooks is probably going to slide in as a top 12 dynasty running back for me when the dynasty rankings are released, probably just ahead of like Rashad White and James Cook range. I think he could go, like, it's depending on positional need, as early as 105 or 106 in a 1 QB league. And in a super flex league, he's a late first round pick. Benson's probably closer to 108, 110 range in 1 QB, and he'll go in the first round of some super flex drafts and in the second round of a lot.
Dave, let me ask you this, because we still have a couple of high end prospects still to go, and a few of our favorite landing spots. So if the Cowboys, let's say, draft Jalen Wright or Blake Corum or Marshawn Lloyd or any of these guys that we've talked about, does that running back leapfrog these two guys?
In dynasty or redraft?
Both.
I don't know if they'll leapfrog Brooks and Benson in dynasty, but in redraft, I think you can make the case for it. I think if Corum gets there, I think if Wright gets there, I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about Marshawn Lloyd if he gets there, although Azer will be hyping him up every single second because he's been loving Marshawn Lloyd. Probably if Lloyd gets there to Dallas, then yeah. But we're still talking about guys that aren't top 60 picks.
All right, so we'll get into that when that selection comes to pass. And the Chargers, another team that we've been looking at from a running back destination standpoint, Minnesota potentially, if they're going to move on from Aaron Jones after this year. So there are some favorable spots that a running back can go to. But we have our first 2 running backs off the board: Jonathon Brooks to the Panthers in round 2, and Trey Benson to the Cardinals in round 3.